Hi, my name is Chris McAllister. Welcome to the SightShift Podcast. If you've ever found yourself in that tense place of leadership where big goals collide with deep conviction, there's an old word for that. It's called wilderness. And when you're in the wilderness, in the uncertainty, you're in a beautiful place because that's where you can find ancient wisdom. For ambitious, faith-driven leaders, I want you to know there's a way forward and you're not a bad leader to be where you are. We're going to help you in this podcast take all of those moments and use them to make culture your edge in your team, in your organization, in your family. SightShift Podcast, welcome. Super excited about a fun treat for us today. So welcoming back probably now, other than Mark, the most returning guest to the podcast for good reason, which we'll get into in a minute. But Bret, welcome. Glad to have you on the podcast today.
Awesome, man. It's good to be back on and fun and excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, it's for those that don't know, Bret leads our marketing and leads Championship, the athletic focused brand of SightShift. Also, for those that don't know, Bret, we may have written some books together for a while now. Uh, Dude, 2013. What's the total count of how many books now?
Yeah, that's a great question because I've kind of lost track,
I have
but
to.
it's around 7 or 8. Yeah, we got a library full now.
Yeah. If you've seen the movie Frozen, when she's like, "We finish each other's," and he goes, "Sandwiches." Uh, we finish each other's sentences. I mean, I can't say enough about how much what people have experienced with Sight Shift when it's something that feels thought through and complete. How much Bret is helping shape that behind the scenes. So having him today on the podcast is super cool because we've got something really important to talk about, and everybody's experiencing it. What are we here to talk about, Bret?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about the conversation we're having now with SightShift and then having this conversation with you today because it's such a relatable experience across so many different areas of leadership. And I've experienced it in my own life, just from my background at, coaching professional basketball and being on different teams, and now working with coaches firsthand. But like you get in these moments, especially during a season, where like things just aren't working, right? You have enough talent, you think you have the right people, and for whatever reason, like it's just not clicking, it's not working. And we've talked about this many times, but like in the basketball world, it's that can be excruciating because NBA, you got 82 games and those games don't stop. There's no chance to like hold on, timeout, take a break, let's reschedule some of these, give us a couple weeks to reorient, figure this thing out. Like you got to keep showing up to the competition and it's on national TV and you might be getting your brains beat in and you just like, man, it's just it turns into a lot of sleepless nights and stressful moments in the office and trying to figure out like why is this thing not working and what can we do and from my experience now and all the work we've done together from your experiences, it seems like this same thing is kind of happening in the business world too for leaders and of organizations. Is that what you're
Yeah.
experiencing?
Yeah. I mean, I think at any point it's hard to get people, and we'll get more into the positive way you could describe it, but get people out of this place of the drift and the confusion. Hard anytime because we're humans and we have things that are distracting us and things that are pressing on us and uh, the way that somebody rubs us wrong and all of these issues. And I think even more so just exacerbated today because there's a million ways to get more distracted. There's a million ways to get more fearful and follow all the news or get more outrage or get more of a victim mindset and to also get the worst parts of you validated. You can always find somebody online who sees the world just like you do and agrees exactly with what you do and doesn't push back. And so, yeah, I think it's pervasive for society. It's having mental health effects for kids. And of course, we see it absolutely in the businesses and teams we work with.
Yeah. What are the people that you're working with, that we're serving with SightShift, you know, like what's the experience, the people who are responsible for the team, the culture, the results, the direction the organization's moving, you know, when it's not really clicking like it's supposed to, or they think it could, it's not meeting its full potential. Like, what is that feeling like for those leaders? What are they experiencing?
Yeah, one of those feelings, and you guys captured it perfectly in one of the videos that you put out about the guy laying there at 3 a.m. and the clock clicks to 3, and then he's laying there and he's turning things over in his head and he's worried. You know something's wrong, and you're not yet able to put it into words. It's like when you hear a song that puts some kind of feeling to words. You're not able to quite put it to words. You just know something is off. And that's like, I remember a CEO of, it was like a $200 million company. We were talking, he was like, that's what keeps me up at night. How do I know across the enterprise that we are not in this place of losing the culture that we value, losing what we want? Um, and so I think it shows up first as something's not right. And a lot of people just push through that feeling. They just ignore the first signs of it. It's almost like when you're at a restaurant and you order a meal and you take a bite of it and you're like, that doesn't taste quite right. That thought doesn't even register to your brain until 2 a.m. And you're like, I knew that didn't taste right, but I didn't slow down and pay attention to that. And so I think it's really, really intuitive. And for a lot of people, they're blowing right past that until it just, shows up enough that they're getting their suspicion confirmed. But it's really learning to hone that spidey sense, something's off.
And you know what I've noticed too is like in coaching basketball teams, like you're going through the season, you could be winning and it still doesn't feel right. Like I've been on teams where our record's good, we're getting the results we want. But as a coach, you go back and like everyone's happy, they're congratulating you, things are looking good, but you know what's coming on the horizon, like the competition's going to get better, or you know what a good team is feels like, and you're like, we're winning, but this isn't quite there. Like there's something missing. Like that sense there where you can feel it.
That too is how I felt on my college fraternity B level team when I was draining threes and winning, and everybody was like, "Hey!" No, that's why I wanted you on the podcast because, like, this is what people need to grasp in case they missed it. You have seen this play out at the highest levels of human performance, like the greatest athletes that have ever lived. Compare an NBA player today to one 40 years ago, right? Or to whenever basketball's invented. I mean, there's just not even the same athlete anymore, right? We're talking about the height of human performance as high as it's ever existed at the highest level it currently exists. And it's true there also.
Yeah.
And coaches handle that brilliantly, and they don't even stress out or worry about it. And they get to a quick, calm, centered mind and know exactly what to do.
Yeah, right. I remember we had a year when I was coaching and I was coaching with the Phoenix Suns, and we were doing well. Like we're in the playoff hunt. And we had a little saying amongst the coaching staff, like, who's mad that the Suns won today? And it's like we couldn't do anything right. Like you'd win a game, but somebody in the locker room is upset about something.
Mm.
It's like, as a coach, you're like, all we want to do is win, make the playoffs, have a chance at a championship. But there was always these things turning amongst the team. It's like, man, can we like you can't win for winning. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it's a and that's that feeling where you're just like, this isn't right. We're winning, but there's something off here, and I
Mm.
can't quite figure out what it is. What's like in your experience? So you starting to feel these things that are off. Like, what's the tell here? What's really going on that we might be missing because we're too close to it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the pain of it feels like and I love the wording that we're camping out on in this season, and we've been using it since the Lead for Impact book. We're just magnifying it. It's this drift, right? And it's not um it's not obvious. It doesn't have a neon sign around it. I mean, this is why one of the most ancient books, from a standpoint of ancient wisdom, one of the oldest books, so like top three religions in the world, the theme of the book is remember, 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 remember. Like, how do you keep that edge in great transformation, in great shifting? And they had to remember who they were. They had to remember what they had been through. And so ultimately it's drift. We get to the point that we're not on the same page, right? And there's all this miscommunication because what was said, heard, and meant, right? Um, and and that leads to two other results. But over and over, the problem is we're not living in the same worldview. We're not living off the same page. We're not existing in the same vision. We're not playing the same game. I mean, you think about, I've been watching now how some of the collegiate head coaches are like, hey, the game's changed now. We're not playing the same game because you've got players that are moving from the G League back into college, right? And I'm sure you have all kinds of takes on this, but it's like, okay, it's a different game now, right? And if you're going to put your head in the sand and just ignore that, you're going to have all these issues and complications. Same thing in the work world. AI is changing things. Um, Economies of scale as people hire and build companies, especially the companies we work with that are hiring a lot of people and fast growing. You have to think about that completely different than you did even 6 months ago, because, and you're seeing this, you may have a role that somebody was paid at a director level for 180 to 220K. Well, now they're reworking the role and the description to be supported by AI, and it's a 70 to 90K pay package, right? Well, that completely changes a tons of things about the economy. And it's the basketball equivalent of like G League players coming down and all these things that are changing. And so, I think that for people that are going to go, oh, we can just try harder and fix all these things, keep doing what we've done. If that was the answer, every NBA coach that emphasizes discipline, consistency, and focus, which I'm sure you could shake a tree and tons of them would have that as their values, they would all win championships.
Right.
They would all
Right.
win championships.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, like all the changes that happen, sports world, business world, and the different approaches like leaders take, where you see some, you know, trying to get ahead of it, cooperate with it, you know, but then there's a bunch that are like get stuck in this victim mindset of like, the game has changed, it's not what it used to be, just complaining about the rules and, you know, and what's how it's upending what they've always done, and like the kind of the traditionalist, I guess you could call them, but getting stuck in this victim mindset. But I love what you're saying is like, you, people just work harder, more consistency, more discipline isn't really going to get it. And what you're saying earlier, like, okay, we find ourselves in these moments where we're not on the same page, it's not working. Okay, we got to come up with a solution. We feel the drift happening, and gosh dang it, Chris, the number of times I've gone bowling with a basketball team to solve our problems, it's like, golly, like, can we not come up with a better solution? But that's
Yeah.
the answer. That's the answer. We're sitting in a staff meeting. It's not working. The team's not on the same page. You know, roles aren't clear, whatever. And we say, what do we do? What do we do? Well, how about we take them bowling instead of practice Friday? It's like, all right. So we go do bowling, but like all these solutions that we try that just they don't work, but this is what we do, right? To try to fix it.
And I get the people that want to be like, yeah, but it's so well intentioned, but it's so amateurish. Like, we literally have knowledge about how cultures have formed over thousands of years. We have knowledge about that. And we can get all of this awareness, or we can rinse some shoes and put our fingers in dirty balls and think that that's going to fix it all. And we know that ain't gonna happen. It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. So true. Okay,
No
so
shade thrown to the bowling industry if they need a keynote speaker for their conference.
I mean, bowlers are professional athletes too, like, right?
Yeah.
But we don't need to pretend basketball players or professional
Bingo.
bowlers.
Bingo.
Okay, so what do we do? Like, where do we, leaders in this place, we know things are off, drift is happening, another pizza party ain't gonna do it. What do we do?
Yeah.
Where do we go?
The funnest place we can go to show people how powerful this is, because it's very difficult to say, hey, look at 4000 BCE, look at 2000 BCE, look at what this, it's movies. It's movies. And this was why we wanted to do this episode today, because the thing that I started seeing um, sometime last year was the quickest way to like walk people through an understanding of what's possible. And it happened informally at first. And I still remember I was in a conversation with somebody and I was like, listen, look, think of your favorite sports movie, whatever it is, and the breakthrough that happened in that movie. Like, what if you could understand the that how how to see that occur? Wouldn't that be powerful? And it feels far off. And I could jump in with a movie that I watched a ton as a kid. Is it a good time to do that? Or
Sure, yeah.
okay. So I remember when I was a kid, and we're gonna look at some movies from solo to team, but when I was a kid, Rocky Four, dude. Rocky Four was like our school across the street was a movie rental place, and on the weekend it would be a treat. We could rent like a video game and a movie or something. And for like 15 weekends in a row, I wanted to rent Rocky Four, and I'm sure my younger brother just went along with it. And in my kid life, I watched Rocky Four more than any other movie. And I loved it because I would get chills. I would get chills when he would, he's all beat up. He's like, if I can change and you can change. And just my little kid brain was so caught up in that moment and it was so powerful. And I literally would get chills. And I know now why I got chills because there's an anatomy, there's sequencing to what was happening in that moment. And they were brilliant to put it in the movie the way they did. And it's the same thing that gives you chills any of your favorite sports movies. So here's what it looks like. Rocky is mad because Apollo has been killed. So he has a vengeance. He has a reactive identity, right? Ohio State tried to do this. It's Ohio against the world. And it carried them far last season. They won the championship. It wasn't a big enough identity for this season. And so he has a reactive identity, and it's in the process of training and in the process of the fight, he shifts. His identity shifts. That's what we need. And when his identity shifted, there was change in his behavior and it facilitated a deeper connection. And it's a uniting moment between these two enemies, Russia and the USA. Of course, I didn't have the consciousness to think through it at that age. And I didn't have the emotional maturity to not hate Russia after watching it like 15 times per weekend for 15 weekends or how many ever times it was. But like what we're trying to say here is this is a completely comprehensible and understandable moment. And you feel it and you love it and you want it. You can go get it.
Mm, that's so cool. I'm getting chills thinking about it. And it's like it's triggering, okay, other examples in my brain, like in the movie The Miracle, uh,
Ooh.
the USA hockey team. And they form this group of like college all-stars, and they all, what you just said there, like to that point their talent had gotten them that far,
Mm.
to the best colleges in the world and or in the country, and then now to be a part of the Olympic team. And they go off and they play a um, an exhibition game. I think it was against the Norwegian national team, and they end in a tie. And as soon as the game is over, Coach Herb Brooks keeps them out on the ice, starts making them do sprints up and down the ice after the game. he was like, he's like, you know, if you're gonna do this, you got to be uncommon men. And there was a scene earlier in the movie where there's like he's getting them to introduce themselves, and they're all identifying like, yeah, I play at this school, I play at this school, I'm from this city, I play at this school, and you know, that's what's been their marker is, you know, their prestige at the school they played at.
Mm.
So he's making them do these sprints until they're dead. I mean, these guys are throwing up on the sides. Even the assistant coach is like, you know, this is getting out of hand. This is getting crazy. Until one time, right before the end, one player shouts out, "So this is my name. This is where I'm from." And he said, "Who do you play for?"
Mm.
I said, "Play for the United States of America." And it was that like coalescing, like what you just said. You need a larger identity, a bigger
Mm.
identity for where you're headed. And that's what he's trying to get the team formed around. Who are you? You know, what's your identity? Who are we as a group? And yeah, that was became the uniting moment for where they were headed. So it's cool how it fits in the model you just laid out too.
It's so powerful. And one of the things that makes a sports movie so concrete is it's so embodied, right? They're literally running out their old identity.
Mm,
They're exhausting themselves of it.
mm,
And you know, I was in a season 11 years ago, 12 years ago, where I needed a identity shift and I was stuck. And um and it was going out and getting in nature and that it emerged, you know, that shift occurred, which led to the bigger idea where we're headed, a breakthrough. Um and and this is what makes me sad. Businesses try to have sports theater by thinking we have to get our breakthrough the same way they did. We have to get our identity shift the same way they did. So we got to go do a ropes course, right? What you and I have joked about many times. We got to bring the Navy SEAL in, ex-Navy SEAL, that's going to make us carry the log. And and the reason I call that theater is because you have to speak the language of the people you're leading. You have to meet them where they are. And yeah, I get that sometimes you're in a place that your body needs to move to get you to get unstuck mentally on something. That's just good basic awareness. But to think you're going to do that for a whole team of people and that you're going to create that same kind of breakthrough the same way is just silly. You don't have to skate your guts out on ice if you're, you know, got a team of people that may not be ready to do that. So that's powerful. I
I
love that.
love what I love what you said there, but like speak to their language. You know, I was again working for the Phoenix Suns at the time, and we did that. We brought in a Navy SEAL, led the team through boot camp. You know, he's talking with the coaching staff of like, you know, the essence of leadership of the Navy SEALs is like you got to be ready to die for your mission, and you know, you got to be ready to die for your brother and sacrifice your life, and this is the true thing. And I'm like, Assistant Coach Larry is only worried about contributing to his 401k because he's 5 years from retirement. Like, this isn't, we aren't putting on our lives on the line here. This is crazy. Like, it just, the mismatch in messaging was just so off. Um, and I guess it feels like, you know, you're talking about like, okay, he exhausted the identity in the movie Miracle. Um, you know, and I guess what we try to do is it feels so surface level. Like we're going to do another pizza party to try to get this connection, you know, or we're going
Yeah.
to like throw another awards program out there to like, you know, claim this identity. And it doesn't feel like that's an exhausting of an old identity. It just feels like feels really shallow.
Yeah. I mean, that's the good news. You don't have to go through the dramatic physical exhaustion. And you see this in the ancient stories of identity shifts and transformation. You know, they're in the wilderness 40 days. They walk for 40 days in the wilderness. I mean, there are all these kind of like patterns that have these really big, deep meanings, and they are this physical exhaustion. But you don't have to have that. Like that's the big dramatic stories because someone oftentimes has been missing a clue or a signal, or there's a big transformational moment occurring. And that's what's so powerful, I think, about what we're saying today is you can see these moments, you can want them, and you don't have to go through the big dramatic circumstance to get them. Life will give you the breakthrough, the identity shift at the level of pressure you're ready to surrender to. And so what
Mm,
happened with this story and miracle is they had to skate till they were throwing up because there was so much fight in them.
mm,
And it doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means you learn how to quickly grab a hold of what's happening and not
mhm.
unnecessarily languish in, you know, unnecessary pressure.
That's really good. So it's going to look a little unique, but for each person and each team and in each circumstance,
Yeah.
which is such the value of the leader of like paying attention to what your team needs, not just, oh, well, Apple did this or the Patriots did it this way. We got to do it that way. And it's really being locked in on what your team needs and paying attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of
What?
the smaller businesses we work with, they all compare notes and ideas, but no one's truth has to be your truth. Go ahead. I don't want to throw us off.
Mhm. No, that's great. Um, okay, so identity shift is a big piece of this, probably where it starts. You talked about, okay, the anatomy of the breakthrough. What's the rest of that picture look like?
So once you've gone through at the top level, the vision shift, the identity shift, that's going to lead to change. So, um, in the movie you referenced, Miracle, he didn't then have to say, "Let me coach you now on how to be uh, a USA Olympic player," because they had the identity of it. The behavior was now going to follow. Now he still had to coach them, but like if we walk a team through an identity shift and they understand we don't have to have a reactive identity as a team. We don't have to index ourselves from our competitor. We can discover who we really are, and this shapes the vision. From there, their behavior is going to naturally self-organize. We don't act like that. We act like this. This is why we do that example when we open up sometimes in larger rooms where we do the thing where we say, okay, you imagine somebody more important to you is coming in the room. Imagine it's your long lost friend, and then we just point out, hey, we didn't have to coach you on the behavior change because you had the vision shift, right? It's in your mindset.
Mhm.
And so once that happens, that vision shift occurs. I mean, this is just understanding how a breakthrough occurs. It will lead to change behavior. You're going to square up with the problems you need to face. You're going to find the innovation you need to find in them, and you're going to grow through them. You're going to become something different. So it's not like just the identity shift gives you the automatic dramatic change of behavior. The vision shift does produce behavior change, but the behavior change strengthens you for how you're going to become in this journey. And that's where the changing occurs. You find new resources, new ideas, new insights. And sports movies are the way.
Yeah. So this is making me think of I guess two come to mind, two of my favorite movies, basketball bias, but The Pistol, The Birth of a Legend about Pistol Pete Maravich. You know, he's an eighth grader in high school trying to make the varsity team, talented, good enough to be there. But the head coach is old school. He's all about the fundamentals, and the seniors start and freshmen don't play on varsity, and all the traditional rules that come with that and how the game should be played. And Pistol Pete Maravich is sitting over there and he's ahead of his time. He's an innovator. He's a magician on the court.
Mm.
And but he doesn't get to play because the coach is stuck in his ways. And finally, like over the course of the movie, it's trying to help that coach see a new vision for how the game could be played or where the game is headed. And that Pistol Pete embodies that. And so it's him like finally like the struggle is him breaking through to let Pistol play and get him in the game, and then let Pistol be who he is. He's not going to be the fundamentals, you know, traditionalist style of player. He's going to be, he sees things that no one else can see and makes plays that no one else can make. And so, like letting the coach finally open up to uh, that idea and the new innovative possibilities, and that was the big breakthrough to let Pistol go on and be a star in their program.
See, that's this pattern. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
that's encouragement for anyone listening to this, because some of you are going to experience resistance, and then it's going to translate to a broken connection with your community. And some of you are going to experience a welcome adoption. And a lot of you are probably going to experience something in between. And you have to stay the course with what you're seeing, playing the game wisely, being sensitive and alert and strategic, until you get to do it the way you want to do it. And man, I have learned that the hard way.
That's such a big piece of this, huh? Like this courage to be misunderstood. Like
Yeah.
you have the vision of where you're headed or what could be possible. It's probably a vision that no one else sees or understands fully. And then you're making changes, innovating, trying new solutions, breaking norms. Um, even if it's not like crazy world defining innovations, but it's just different than what your team has done up to this point. But to enact that and to see that through, it requires you to have some courage, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say no vision worth doing is going to be completely understood. And the bigness of the vision is probably going to be relative to the amount you're going to be misunderstood. So if it is trying to get the team to adopt a new way to do practice, there's going to be a little bit of misunderstanding. Don't have your identity wrapped up in the role as the head coach that you can't endure some of that. I mean, um, there's plenty of moments as a parent where I'm like, I'm going to endure being misunderstood because I see the long play of where we're headed here. Sometimes that happens organizationally. And I think about like crazy big examples like Elon Musk building rockets, right? The way people just hate on that. And it's like he is not losing sleep over that. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not like endorsing everything about him and don't even care to weigh in on all that, but I'm saying he has a crazy vision. And who knows what the real vision is? Maybe it was to go to Mars. Maybe all along it's to put data centers in space, and he just had to get us level set to something impossible to believe something is real. All I know is this: you are going to be misunderstood.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
The
and
challenge of
people,
leadership.
yeah, and people are going to pressure that at different points, and that's why the drama of a sports movie is so clear.
Hmm. So, all right, continue down the anatomy here. You get
Yeah.
an identity shift, and that leads to new behaviors or an innovation, new way of doing things. Then what follows?
So then from there, you are either deepening or hurting a relationship. Because if you have an identity shift, it's going to lead to change, and that change is going to lead to a deeper connection. That's true with your customers. That's true with your internal team. That's true with your family. And if you resist those changes because you did not have the identity shift, then the relationships falter, they hurt. And so, what appropriately should kind of haunt a leader, a coach, whoever, is what's the trajectory of our relationships like? Do we trust each other more today than we did 9 months ago? Is the fiber of our relationship deeper? My wife and I can move in and out of conflict way faster than we could have 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. There's more inside jokes now. What's the fiber of these connections on our team? Is it degrading or is it improving? And again, that's the end game. That's where we want to go, but it's not possible without the first two. There is a movie that I love to reference on this.
Yeah, I
And
want to hear it.
so, okay. So, when I watched this movie the first time, my wife and I had gotten married recently. We go to the theater on a date watching this movie. And afterward, I was like, I'm quitting life. We're just going to stay married. I'm going to go back to high school because I got to play football. I don't even have the frame to play football. I didn't play football in high school. But of course, I wasn't serious. But I was so many endorphins in my body from this movie. Remember the Titans.
Mhm.
Remember the Titans was just so powerful. And there's a lot of sports movies that kind of have this theme. But it's such a great illustration of the fracturing of relationships. So if you understand the anatomy of a breakthrough, there's this vision identity shift that leads to change, that leads to deepening connection. Well, that movie is starting from this standpoint of a fracturing connection. And it's the racism that's inherent in this area, and it's the tension point that's there. And what I love about the movie is it's not the stupid, glib, hyped, intellectually rotten, misinformed, disconnected from ancient wisdom conversation you have today about race. It's just so beautiful in the sense that it is a not an erasing of diversity to force a uniformity. It's a hard fought for unity by embracing our diversity.
Mm.
And which is the shift every team has to go through at this level to really have the fullness of their breakthrough. You are not trying to get to a place of uniformity. That is dumb and stupid. It's hard fought for unity. And so what they have to have happen is this identity shift, which changes in their behavior, and it's up to the players to live out this new value of deepening connection, to extend, to reach out, to repair the tear, and to see the fiber of the relationship reform and then go even deeper. And my goodness, what a powerful story. And I don't even remember now. Was it based on a true story? I think it was.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's really cool about this? Sorry to interrupt you,
No, go
but
ahead. Go ahead.
this is hitting me that like not only did it transform their team, but because the team transformed internally, that got extended to the wider community. And so it was like maybe the coach went in there and said, "Hey, I want to change race reconciliation in all of the state." But what he did is, I'm going to impact my team,
Yeah,
and that overflowed to the broader community.
dude. Like this is everything, right? You don't change the world macro community down. You change it micro community up.
Mm,
And that is as old as time.
mm,
I mean, there's probably one of the most misunderstood pieces in ancient wisdom is like this visual imagery of like cosmic battle. And people think about it taking place in some kind of predictive way, but it's a movie that's constantly playing out in every community we're a part of. You don't change the world through protest. You change the world through subversive resistance by being committed to your micro community. Like that's it.
mm, mm,
And then that spills over to the larger context. And so that for me is why I'm so passionate about the work we do, whether it's with sports teams and businesses. I mean, you spend so much time with these people. Are they making your life better or worse? Why not make your life better? Why not teach you how to be better as a human and as a leader? Why not participate in something that teaches you wholeness, that allows you to transform a community that leads to more transformation? And this isn't glib, this isn't hype. The only time in human history where an oppressed people upended the most powerful empire at the time, it was how they lived. They
mm.
included and at the micro community level lived transformed. And so that's why we know this works. This works. Now, human emotion affirms it works in a smart way because you and I and tons of people listening to this have watched their favorite sports movie and got lit up.
Mm.
And we're explaining to you today why you got lit up because it spoke to
Yeah.
something deep in you, meaning.
Yeah. You know what? This is awesome. And what I'm loving about this is, so when I'm in really hard circumstances, I'm struggling. I've got a phrase that I say to encourage myself. It's just, hey, on this other side of this struggle is a beautiful breakthrough.
Hmm.
And but to this point, really the encouragement is like, hang on.
Hmm.
Just endure, just persist. You'll get to the other side of this eventually. But there was no like conscious or strategic process to get to the other side of it. It was just like encouraging me, like giving me hope to hang on for dear life, don't give up.
Hmm.
But now what I'm taking from this is like breakthroughs aren't just some mystical fairy tale thing that happens in the movies. Like there is a process to it. There is a conscious steps you can take to get there. And that's really encouraging. It feels really empowered as a leader that you can see where your breakthrough can happen.
I love that you're highlighting that because my life has been transformed and is made up of many, M-A-N-Y and M-I-N-I breakthrough moments. I got a bigger thing I'm trying to solve right now. And I'm like, okay, my imagination feels stale and stuck. And just by accepting that reality and not denying it, and sitting with it, and then boom, a vision identity shift occurred. Now, it's there, it's persistent, it's living in my mind without me trying to access it. So I'm not having to bring willpower to try to get it. It's shifting at the desire level of who I am. And then I put discipline around that. That's the changes you put in place. They're
Mhm.
coming out of this identity shift, and it's going to lead to a deeper and a healthier connection in the context of where I needed this breakthrough. And I'm not there yet. Not everything happens like a sports movie does, where at minute 107 and 22 seconds, it's all broken. And at minute 107 and 23 seconds, it's all right. You know, Sometimes it does. But at least you can know this. There is a process.
Mhm.
You can lead your team to a breakthrough if you know where to look.
Mm. That's amazing. So empowering. How do we know where to look?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things I was so excited about doing this episode with you today was because I was picking up in conversations a while back, like how quickly people could get what I was laying down if I anchored it in a sports movie. And I don't know enough of them, but occasionally I risk like, what's your favorite movie? And then I could see if I could hack it. Um, but here's the idea. What we do at SightShift and what we've been doing is all about these transformational shifts. And really, what we've been doing for 5 years at the culture level is kind of scratching our way to what is the simplest, most transformative way to take people to and through their breakthrough moment, and to help them do it in a way that they could learn to do it for themselves over and over and over and over. Like that's the obsession. And so it's here. It's here. It's based around this anatomy. It's based around data. It's based around ancient wisdom. And so, for those that are listening to this, if you want to learn what your breakthrough moment is for your team and you want to have a collective experience where everyone can get their voice heard that needs to be heard, where we can get collectively aligned around this vision, work on the right things, and deepen our relationships, that's why we've created this experience for you to participate in. And once you go through it, you can keep taking yourself back through it each year. And so from here, you're going to be able to go to sightshift.com, SIGHT and you can always learn about where we're working with organizations. But if you want this specific tool, this specific experience, you're going to go to cultureimpactscript.com. And that's what we take you through in this culture breakthrough workshop. And I would love for every team listening to this that wants to be there to find a way to get there because we know how powerful it is.
That's awesome. This is so exciting to have something like the script, the script to see your breakthrough, like the step-by-step process. It doesn't all those times where we're sitting laying in bed 3 a.m. in the morning, this isn't working. Maybe I'll take them bowling. Maybe I'll do pizza. I don't know what's going to work, but one of these is going to. But to have a process that's like, this is the path, and that's exciting. That's exciting. You know what else would be awesome? Go ahead, and then
No,
I'll wrap
no.
this up.
I would just say if we could help everybody in the team know it's going to be okay, they will find a way and you'll be
Mm,
deeper connected because of it.
that's an amazing promise.
Hmm.
Um, would love people to go to cultureimpactscript.com. Would also love to hear anyone else's sports movies where they
Ooh,
see the
yeah.
model exist. So that'd be cool to hit us up on LinkedIn or social media and just hear, okay, what sports movies are their favorites and how does the model show up in those. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, that would be so fun. If people do that, we'll do another episode and talk through them. So tag Bret with your mean comments, tag me with your nice comments about my hair, and we'll pay attention and we'll do another one.
It's awesome. Chris, thanks for letting me be a part of this conversation. This has been awesome, fun to tie in the sports world and make it obvious for us dumb jocks to understand it. So excited for where this is going next.
Dude, I've freaking elite athletes are brilliant. And I know you know that. So for those listening, thanks for being here on the podcast. So glad you could hear more from Bret. And you can always find out more about what we do with athletes and teams at championshift.com. Peace out, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us on the SightShift podcast. I hope in some way we've encouraged you to face, lean into, and become aware of the moments that represent so much transformation possibility. If you want more, you can always go to SightShift, SIGHT, shift.com, and learn to make culture your edge.